The acceptance letter from the University of Lagos, stiff and official, lay on the rickety wooden table, mocking the surrounding decay. The words, "Congratulations, Amara Okoro, for gaining admission to the Faculty of Law," should have sung, but in the stale air of the tiny zinc-roofed room in Ajagunle, they were a dirge. Amara, barely 16, felt the parchment's weight, not of ink and promise, but of stone. 2 weeks ago, Paapa, her father, a man whose hands had known only honest labour, had succumbed to the relentless march of tuberculosis, leaving behind a silence vast and terrifying. He had been their son, their provider, and their hope. Now only shadows remained. Her mother, Mama Okoro, lay frail on the floor mat, coughing a deep, wet sound that echoed the emptiness in Amara's stomach. Amara's siblings, 8-year-old Chibuzo and 6-year-old Ngozi, huddled close, their innocent eyes reflecting her own desperate fear. "Nay," Mama whispered, her voice a rasp. "The money for the herbalist. It is finished. And the school fees." Amara smoothed the wrinkles from the acceptance letter, a dream she had earned with sleepless nights and kerosene lamp study sessions. "Don't worry, Mama," she lied, the taste of ash in her mouth. "We will find a way." But there was no way. The small burial debt was crushing them. The money needed for Mama's urgent treatment was a mountain. The Unilag dream, once so close, felt galaxies away. Amara knew the truth. She could not afford the gown, let alone the books and fees. She had to choose loyalty to her living family over her future self. She had to be the anchor. A neighbour, Auntie Rose, returned with news. A job. Not just any job, but a live-in housemaid position for the illustrious Belosijuad family in Ikoyi, a family whose wealth was measured not in naira, but in continents. "The pay is good, Amara," Auntie Rose urged, "and you will eat well. Your family will be safe while you work. You can send money home." The proposition felt like a surrender, a final descent from scholar to servant. Yet, looking at her mother's fading eyes, Amara knew she had no choice. She folded the admission letter and tucked it inside her worn Bible, a promise deferred. The Bello Sijuward mansion, nicknamed the Citadel, was a fortress of white marble, shimmering glass, and wrought iron. The air smelled of chlorine and exotic perfumes, a stark contrast to the humidity and decay of Ajagunle. Amara stepped onto the polished driveway, her small nylon bag clutched tightly, feeling every inch the intruder. She was met by Mrs. Adiola Bello Sijuade, the matriarch, a woman carved from expensive stone, clad in shimmering aso oke, her gaze sharper than any kitchen knife. "You are Amara," Mrs. Bello Sijuade stated, not asked, her voice laced with chilling authority. "You will learn the rules quickly here. Obedience is your only currency. Loyalty to this house is paramount. You are invisible, do you understand?" "Yes, Ma." Amara swallowed, her loyalty already twisted into silent submission. Her job was relentless, cleaning rooms larger than her entire family apartment, serving elaborate meals, and running errands. The household staff, a small army of cooks, drivers, and nannies, mostly ignored her except for Jide, the head steward. Jide, a wiry man with shifty eyes and a smile that never reached them, seemed unusually attentive. "You are smart, Amara," Jide once whispered, helping her carry a heavy laundry basket. "Too smart for this wahala. Keep your eyes open. This place is full of ghosts, and rich people's money often has sharp edges." Amara didn't trust him, but she appreciated the crumbs of warning. Then there was Femi Bello Sijuade, the only son. Handsome, with a devastating smile that masked entitlement, Femi saw Amara the way a cat sees a trapped mouse, an object of entertainment. He made unwelcome advances disguised as casual flirtations, leaving $20 bills under her cleaning supplies. Amara always left the money untouched. Her loyalty was to her family, not to temptation. One evening, while clearing a study, Amara overheard a fragment of a hushed argument between Mrs. Bello Sijuade and her husband, the chief. "The audit is tomorrow. If they find the missing accounts, the whole structure collapses," Chief whispered harshly. "Keep your voice down," the matriarch hissed back. "I have contingency plans. We are untouchable. We just need to move the funds before morning." Amara, frozen behind a velvet curtain, realized the opulence was built on a foundation of deceit. The Bello Sijuwadis were not just wealthy, they were corrupt. This knowledge was terrifying, and she tucked it away, praying her invisibility would remain her shield. 6 months into her servitude, the call came, a frantic, choked whisper from Auntie Rose. Mama Okoro had collapsed. The herbal remedies had failed, and she needed emergency dialysis, an expense so staggering it was unimaginable in their reality. Amara wept silently in her tiny staff quarters. Her loyalty to her family demanded action, but her integrity screamed against the house's strict rules. The next day, she was cleaning Femi's ridiculously ostentatious master bedroom. Femi was away on a trip, and the room felt heavy with his absence. As she tidied a bookshelf, a loose panel caught her eye. Behind it was a hidden compartment. Inside, wrapped only in a plain brown paper band, were bundles of crisp, new US dollars. It was a massive sum, easily enough to pay for Mama's treatment 10 times over. The sight was a siren's song, a devastating temptation. This was not the family's clean, legitimate money. This was the hidden, illicit fund she'd heard about. It was money meant for corruption, not charity. Would taking a small fraction, just enough to save a life, truly be a sin? Her father's voice, a memory of integrity, echoed, "Integrity, Amara, is what you do when no one is watching." But Mama was dying. Shaking, heart hammering against her ribs, Amara reached out. She peeled off a single thin band, just 4 $100 bills, a tiny fraction of the total, enough for the first round of dialysis. She vowed, praying to God, that when she was finally educated, she would work to replace every dollar. It was a theft, but born of loyalty, not greed. She rewrapped the bundle hastily, shoved the panel back, and smoothed the shelf. As she turned, she saw a shadow flicker in the hallway, a brief glimpse of a lean figure before it vanished. Jide. He had seen something. Amara tried to reassure herself it was nothing, but the money, hot and heavy in her bra, felt like a brand of fire. 2 days later, the house was in chaos. Mrs. Bello Sijuwad's voice, usually cool and measured, was a roaring gale. "My private safe! The emergency funds are gone. $5,000. Who has been in Femi's room?" Fear turned Amara's blood to ice. $5,000. She had taken 400. Had someone else emptied the cash? Or was this a trap? A moment later, Jide, the head steward, was standing before the matriarch, his face a mask of false remorse. He looked directly at Amara. "Ma, forgive me for speaking out of turn, but I saw Amara in the young master's room late that night. She was looking suspicious. She was fidgeting with her clothes as she left, like she was hiding something large." Jide had transformed her desperate, minute mistake, taking $400, into a vicious betrayal, framing her for the theft of $5,000, perhaps even more. Mrs. Bello Sijuwadi's gaze fixed on Amara, cold and damning. Search her, and search her pathetic little room. The maids, spurred by jealousy and fear, tore apart Amara's meagre belongings. They found the $400, neatly hidden beneath her mattress. $400, Ma, the nanny announced triumphantly. She took it. "The thief takes a little to test the water, then returns for the rest," Mrs. Bello Sijuade sneered, convinced. "Jide, you have been loyal. Amara, your loyalty belongs only to yourself. You are a disgrace." Amara tried to explain, her voice choked with tears. "I took only a small amount for my mother, Ma. I was going to pay it back. I swear I did not take 5,000. You know this is not clean money, Ma." That last sentence sealed her fate. She had crossed the line from thief to threat. "Silence!" Mrs. Bello-Sijuwade roared. "You dare accuse us! You have tainted my home, disgraced my son, and betrayed my trust. I am calling the police. You will rot in Kirikiri, and your mother will die alone." Amara was locked in a small storage closet, her fate hanging by a thread. The weight of her sacrifice, her education, her father's death, her mother's illness, felt like a crushing defeat. She had tried to save her family and had destroyed herself instead. She was trapped, betrayed by the very man who had warned her, and condemned by the family whose dark secrets she had witnessed. The storage closet was filled with discarded items, dusty files, and old furniture. Amara sat in the darkness, praying, weeping, and feeling the deep, corrosive pain of injustice. As she blindly ran her hand over a discarded, dusty wooden box, she felt a loose binding. She pulled it out. It was a heavy, leather-bound book, not a ledger, but a diary. The cover was worn with faded gold lettering, Adiola's Journal, 1999 to 2005. This was Mrs. Bello-Sijuwade's past. With trembling hands, Amara opened the journal. The elegant script detailed not only the matriarch's rise to power, but the intricate web of deceit upon which the family fortune was built. It wasn't just recent corruption, it was decades of calculated malice. Entry, October 12th, 2003. My sister Ngozi insists on giving that money to the foundation. Foolish woman. Her shares are legally mine. The only way is to declare her incompetent. And her husband, well, he needs to disappear. That man asks too many questions about the seed capital. Amara's breath hitched. Ngozi. The name resonated. Was this the same Auntie Ngozi who helped her get the job? The one who told her the Bello-Sijuwades were distant, powerful relations? The diary revealed everything. The matriarch's scheme to seize her sister's inheritance, her manipulations in the political arena, and worse. A detailed account of how the matriarch's wealth was funneled through Femi's supposed business account to avoid taxes, the very account from which the $5,000 was allegedly stolen. She flipped to a recent page dated just 2 months ago. Femi is careless. I had to move the remaining $500,000 out of his room myself before the audit. I must frame that new maid if anyone asks questions. The steward, Jide, is observant. Perhaps I can pay him off to point the finger. Tears streamed down Amara's face, but they were no longer tears of despair, but of chilling clarity. She hadn't been framed for $5,000. She had been used as a shield to cover the movement of $500,000 and eliminate a witness. The matriarch knew the $5,000 was gone because she had been moving the funds. Jide's betrayal was bought and paid for. Hearing the loud footsteps of the police arriving, Amara knew she had seconds. She ripped the 2 most damning pages from the diary, the one about Auntie Ngozi and the one about framing the new maid, and folded them into the pocket of her dress, hiding the rest of the diary under a pile of cushions. The police interrogation was a nightmare. Amara was paraded before the family, bruised by accusation, but her fear had been replaced by a quiet, cold resolve. She admitted to taking the $400, detailing her mother's illness, a truth that briefly softened the faces of the junior officers. Mrs. Bello-Sijuwade, however, was implacable. She is a liar and a thief, a danger to my home and my family's integrity. Amara looked directly at the matriarch. Ma, I may be a thief for $400, but you are a thief of legacies and a betrayer of blood, and I have proof. She produced the first folded page, the one mentioning the sister, Ngozi. The matriarch's face drained of colour. Amara then demanded to see Auntie Ngozi. Auntie Ngozi arrived, solemn and sceptical. Amara quietly showed her the diary entry detailing the matriarch's plot to steal her inheritance and destroy her husband years ago. Auntie Ngozi, who had always suspected her sister's cruelty, was stunned. Amara then revealed the second page, detailing the matriarch's plan to frame the new maid and paying Jide for his false testimony. Auntie Ngozi took the pages. The matriarch, seeing her deepest, darkest secrets exposed, crumbled into frantic denials. But the evidence was too compelling. Auntie Ngozi, finally understanding the depth of her sister's deceit, decided to take a stand. She called in her own lawyer, one who specialized in corporate fraud, and the story exploded into the Nigerian media. Amara, the young girl who sacrificed her education, suddenly became the face of honest struggle against privileged corruption. The hidden diary, recovered by Auntie Ngozi's legal team, exposed decades of financial fraud, asset stripping, and corporate deceit by the Bello Sijuwade family. The audit that Mrs. Bello Sijuwade had feared became a full-blown criminal investigation. Mrs. Bello Sijuwade lost face and power entirely. Her public image as a philanthropic pillar shattered, replaced by the reality of a manipulative schemer. She faced freezing of assets and significant legal battles, retreating into disgrace and isolation. Femi Bello Sijuwade, who was heavily implicated in the tax evasion schemes tied to the hidden funds, was publicly disowned by his own father to protect the chief's remaining assets. He fled the country, a disgraced playboy. Jide, the head steward, was arrested for perjury and accepting bribes, his betrayal of a desperate girl leading directly to his own downfall. Amara was immediately cleared of all charges. The judge, moved by her story and the necessity of her actions, mandated that the $400 be paid back to her from the Bello Sijuwade Foundation's legitimate accounts. Auntie Ngozi, now the ethical face of the family, was impressed not just by Amara's honesty in the end, but by her intelligence and tenacity under fire. Amara, at 16, had outsmarted a highly sophisticated criminal operation. Auntie Ngozi took Amara and her family under her wing. She arranged for Mama Okoro to receive the best medical care immediately, using the legally recovered assets from her own inheritance. "You saved my family's name, Amara," Auntie Ngozi told her, holding her hand, "and you exposed a rot that would have consumed us all." A month later, Amara stood not in the opulent, deceitful citadel, but in a small, well-furnished apartment paid for by Auntie Ngozi. Mama Okoro was recovering, and her siblings were enrolled in a good local school. Auntie Ngozi then presented Amara with a bound document, a full scholarship, secured by a newly established non-profit dedicated to supporting young women of integrity, to Unilag, with a stipend for her family. Amara picked up her old acceptance letter, the one she had tucked into her Bible. The words finally sang. She had faced the deepest poverty, resisted the strongest temptations, endured the most vicious betrayal, and through her quiet courage had turned deceit back upon the deceivers. She was not just going to law school. She was going as a testament to loyalty, sacrifice, and the unwavering grace that finally brought her family into the light. She was stronger, wiser, and ready to fight for justice, armed with both integrity and the painful knowledge of how darkness operates in the shadows of gold. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment below to tell us what you think about the story.